Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Get to Know Them. I am so happy you are here today. For those of you who are tuning in for the first time, I am your host, Monica Graves, and this is a show that I created when the pandemic began because I was thinking of all the amazing, wonderful people I know who have such interesting stories, and I wanted to share them with all of you in hopes that you would be inspired and we could all just have a great conversation together. So I am very, very excited today to be chatting with Gina Livy. And I know a lot of you have been looking forward to this so much. And thank you everyone for all your shares and your comments and everything. I'm going to introduce Gina to you in just a moment. But before I do that, I wanted to talk to you. I actually have two sponsors for my show. So one of them is a very good friend of mine who lives in Toronto, Ontario. She has been a clothing designer since the late 80s, and she's amazing. She really understands a woman's body and the fit. And her name is Brenda Bedome, and you can go to her website at brendabedome.com. And when you go to her site, you'll see all of her beautiful collections, and you can use the coupon code Get to Know Them, and she's going to give you 22% off of your order. So I'm wearing her top today. I've got her pants on as well, which I'll show later in my social media. But she's great. And then my second sponsor is actually myself. So I'm a jewelry designer and I have had my company for 20 years. It's glamjewels.com. I'm wearing one of my pieces today, but a majority of the work that I do are special pieces to help fundraising for our community. So today I'm wearing a little bracelet that you can see on my website, and the funds from this bracelet go to help parents of children with brain injuries. So you can read the full story on my site. The website is glamjewels.com, GLAMJULZ.com. Go ahead and check that out. And that's all I have to say about that. Now, I am so excited. This month has been amazing because for the month of March, we've been celebrating women all month long, and we'll celebrate all year long, of course. But to have Gina Livy come on for my very last segment of March means so much to me because she is an incredible woman, such a trailblazer, and the perfect guest to celebrate women with. So let me read Gina's bio to you, and then I'm going to bring her on. Gina Livy is the founder and CEO of Weight Loss by Gina Inc., a business that helps people lose weight in a healthy and sustainable way so they can move on with their lives and never have to worry about weight loss again. Gina has been helping people lose weight for over 30 years. Her mission is to disrupt the diet industry by showing people there's a different way to lose weight that's healthy for their body and their mind, while making it accessible, affordable, doable, and sustainable. Gina has always demonstrated a strong entrepreneurial spirit, starting her first business in her parents' basement at the ripe old age of 10. I can't wait to hear about this. The passion for entrepreneurship continued to drive Gina as she grew up. She knew this was what she was destined to do her entire life. In 2018, Gina started her first weight loss group on Facebook and offered it for free. That first group had 482 members. It created the foundation for Weight Loss by Gina Inc., which started in December 2020 with her fiance, Tony. As CEO of Weight Loss by Gina, Gina led the company to explosive growth over the past 2 years. Her weight loss groups have grown from having 3,800 members in December 2020 to now over 28,000. Woo! In the current winter 2023 group. Oh, that makes me so happy. Additionally, during that time, Gina has also published 5 number 1 best-selling books on Amazon, launched a Livy Method companion app, started her own podcast with 2.1 million downloads, grown her social media presence to over 120,000 followers across Facebook and Instagram, and has helped her members lose over 200,000 pounds. This girl is on fire. I've been a part of her program since April 2022, and she has changed my world. There are so many beautiful facets to Gina Livy, and I am so excited for her to share her story with us here today. Gina Livy, woo!
Wow.
I
Gina
wanted to
sounds
yell loud.
Gina sounds like she must be tired. My goodness, hearing it out loud is crazy.
Isn't
Crazy.
that crazy when you
It
think of
is.
what you've done, girl? Holy smokes.
You know,
This
it's
is honestly,
oh,
no,
sorry, go ahead. I'm used to doing all the talking, so expect me to cut you
it's
off
okay.
when you
I was gonna say, you're like a dream come true on so many levels, on the weight loss journey, on, a woman in this day and age, coming up to 50, like
talk.
you have inspired women on so many levels. And as an entrepreneur, like I am just like, you know, you're exactly who we all need to hear from. And I'm so grateful. I know how busy you are. And for you to agree to come on the show today, like you set my heart on fire, honestly. Thank you.
Thank you for having me on. You are my first, you're my first appearance on anyone's podcast. I know we have our own and we've had millions of downloads, but I've never been on anyone else's. I don't know how to not be the person being interviewed. So I'm kind of stepping out of my comfort zone with you today. But
Yeah.
we have a mutual friend, I think, Heather Gordon, and she
Yeah.
works for podcast. She's the one who we do our podcast. And I'm just a big believer in, women helping women. Our company is primarily women led. We have about 50 employees right now. I don't know how many men we have on the team, but it's not a lot. And I'm really proud of providing women opportunities. And a lot of people that we have on our team may not have had the background or experience, but they had the passion and they're willing to
Yeah.
learn. And we're all just learning as we go. So that's one of the things I'm most proud of is running a company and giving women opportunity. So where I'm at that also point in my career where I can start helping other women and still look to be inspired by other women as well. So it's a good
Oh,
place, good place to be. So I'm
it's a
happy to be here.
great place to be. And I really love how we can get into this more, but how many of your employees are members.
Yeah. Yeah.
Are they all members, Gina, or most of them?
Our program specialist, although it's not a requirement, that's usually how
Yeah.
people find out about us is by doing the program. And so a lot of our program specialists, the people who help people on their journeys, help answer questions. So we run these big Facebook groups, and within the Facebook group, you can ask all the questions that you need throughout your 3 month journey with us. And so they've all been members at this point. And not to say that someone couldn't come in and learn the program, but I think there's
Mhm.
something to be said about understanding what people are going through. And a lot of the team who's working in management started as program specialists. We have people who like our production team and some of our social media team, marketing and the business side of things may
Yeah.
not have participated in the program, but we put them all through the program. And this is really
Great.
important because we want them to understand our community. And we're not out to sell a product. We know we have an amazing program that works, and we're just business wise looking to tell people about it. And so
Yeah.
what's more important to us is having a team of people who are passionate about the program and the process. So in one way or another, they are very familiar with the program and, more importantly, our community. So yeah,
I
that's why you
love it.
impassioned answers, and it's real
Yeah.
people wanting to help. It feels good to feel good when you do the program. It feels even better to help people get to a place where they feel really good and are successful. So yeah.
Yeah. And you make it very, very easy for people like me to tell other people about the program. Like when I talk about your program, it's like I feel like I work for you. I'm like, I know exactly what this is. I know exactly how to explain it. I believe in it 100%. And it reminds me of, remember the TV commercial that for, I think it was, I can't remember the hair shampoo, but and they told two friends and they told two friends and so on and so
Yeah,
You
well,
know,
95%
that's how,
of our company growth is referral based. It's all been
yeah,
referrals. I can't really take credit for the success behind the company because it's really due to our amazing members who share. I'm a big believer too in sharing is caring. I've always been, if I find a great product or a great service, or I'm always like the first person to share and tell everybody. I'm like, people used to say that our program was the best worst kept secret because like you kind of really only knew about it unless you knew someone who knew about it, and just group over group over group we have grown. I think talking about weight loss now is a little weird. It used to be really cool in the like 80s. Everyone was talking about dieting,
yeah.
and recently it's become kind of a not cool conversation. I think people are realizing the detriment it's had on people's mental health. Years of
Mm.
dieting, but the thing is that we have a product and a program that you can feel really good about telling your friends or telling your family, because at the end of the day, a lot of people are trying to lose weight, and if
Yeah,
diets don't work, and there's kind of, love yourself and don't do anything about anything. Like, what if you do want to lose weight, and what are your options for that? And the program is a really healthy, sustainable, not just physically but mentally way to do that. So, and also I love that we're transparent. So if you go to our website, you don't have
yeah.
to scroll through 2 hours of information, then
Oh,
give us your firstborn child just to find out what we're selling or how much
I
it
love
costs.
it. Yeah, it's
Yeah,
great. It's like you go to the website, here's the price, you either want in or not. Like make up your mind.
yeah.
It's great.
Yeah. So with
Yeah,
business, I've been able to kind of do all the things opposite to the way business is done. That just makes me crazy. And that's one of the ones where
yeah,
people aren't upfront or transparent about, how much it's going to cost. What am I buying into? Why am I giving you my email? Like, just tell me. Just tell me and let me
yeah.
decide if I want to be in or not. So yeah. So I'm mindful of things like that, even when it comes to just letting people know about the program. So yeah.
Perfect. I love it. So, Gina, I want to travel back with you a little bit because I really want to know what was on your mind as a little kid growing up. What did you want to be?
I didn't know. I didn't know. I knew I was sort of always involved in sports, never like a rock star in any of them, but just I played pretty much every sport. I was pretty involved throughout school. When we did a lot of extracurriculars back then, I'd volunteer. If I wasn't playing on a team, I'd volunteer to help a team. I'd always be involved somehow. Maybe it could be anything that got me out of school. I don't know. And I remember being really motivated at a young age, but not ever really knowing what I wanted to do. And I always thought it was really weird when people are like, I want to be a fireman. I want to be this. I want to be that. I want to be, and I was always like, oh, I don't know. I remember I entered the Miss Peterborough pageant. I must have been in like grade 8, Miss Teen Peterborough pageant
Yeah.
back in the day. And I remember they did an interview and they're like, what do you want to be when you grow up? And I was like, a lawyer. I want to be a lawyer. I didn't even know what the frig a lawyer did, probably. I'm sure like 13 years old, but it sounded smart. And so I really didn't know. But if I go back to when I was 10, and when I did really realize that doing what I'm doing now was what I wanted to do, it was after my marriage of 20 years had fallen apart. I had to shut down my business, which was a studio, fitness studio I was running at the time because my ex-husband got sick. There's a whole other story. But
Oh,
I remember my mom bringing me some photo albums. She was cleaning her basement, and I wanted her photo albums, old school ones with the photos, and you know what I mean.
I
And
love it. Yep.
I found a flyer in there that was from this business I started called the GNFC, the Gina and Nicole Fitness Center. And it was in my parents' basement when we were 10. We got this idea that I was going to teach fitness classes and she was going to talk about health. She's now a doctor. So she grew up to be a doctor.
Oh,
And I remember at the time, like it didn't go very far. I think I was going to charge $1 for like $1 a month or something like that. It didn't really go too far, but I had the idea always. And then from there, I always worked. So I've had a lot of jobs. I love working. I not driven by money, which is strangely weird for
mhm.
someone who really got into working at a very young age. the fitness part of it I got into when I was 14, and I was going to the Y, and I was taking some gymnastic classes, and I walked by a room where they were doing fitness, and I thought, whoa, what is this? It looks fun. People are like jogging around and doing fitness exercises. And so my friend and I decided to join. And then somehow I got inspired to become a personal trainer. And then, I started working in gyms as some of the jobs that I had. And then throughout university and in my early 20s, actually right through to probably feels like last week, I'd always been helping people lose weight and eat better and exercise. That's how I made money. One of my jobs through university was
Right.
working in the gym. And so after university, I got into television, and so I started looking at television as sort of my career. And then my helping people lose weight and fitness was like a waitressing gig. That's kind of how I looked at it. Do you know what I mean? You know how you have actresses and
Right.
everyone in LA also is a waitress who's trying to be an actress. And I thought, this is kind of my, until I make it in the television industry, and I hosted my own shows and such, I'm going to help people lose weight. And then when I
Wow.
fast forward to that moment where my marriage was falling apart, and I was like, what am I going to do with my life? And my mom brought this, photo album. I looked at this flyer and I realized I had this massive aha moment where it was like, the thing I meant to do is the thing that I've been doing all along. And as soon as I made that realization, it was like go time. But I always knew that I was going to do something really big. And I would I was in preparation for this day, I was thinking about the time I went to my grandparents and asked them for a loan to start like a clothing store and a just things I had no business doing or no experience. But I always had like this idea of like, I'm going to do this and I'm going to do that. And um I always knew I was
Yeah.
going to do something really big. It's just, and I remember people saying to me, like, "Oh, shut up. Like, really? Like, no, you're not. And how are you going to do that? And, you have to have a plan and all those things." And I
Mm.
never really had a plan. I just every day kind of had an idea of what I wanted to do and where I wanted to go. And so I didn't know. That's my long and
Wow.
short story for I didn't have a clue what I wanted to be when I was young. Now looking back, it really all makes sense. But at the time, I
Yeah.
remember thinking, oh my God, what am I going to even university? The only
Amazing.
reason I went is because I followed a boyfriend, not because I took history and geography. I mean, I don't even why? Why? I can't tell you
Yeah.
where anything is or tell you the history of anything, but that's what I went to school for. So
I
yeah,
love that is so I love how that story, the full circle, that you're right now where you began. Like this is
yeah.
incredible. And so tell us a little bit about your career in television. What were you doing in television, Gina?
So
What
I went to school at Laurier, and like I said, I was
okay.
working at a gym to put myself through school, and also a futon store. That's a discussion for a whole other
Oh,
day. But that's
futons. Yeah, well, that was hot, man. Yeah,
Who
good
talked
one.
for big sellers at university? That was the whole other thing.
Yeah.
So when I was done university, so while I was at university, we used to travel to this aerobics club in Toronto called Body Alive, and this one aerobics was like really
Yeah.
popular. Thongs up your butt, aerobic shoes, the whole like 20-minute workout, like the whole thing. And
Yeah.
so when I went downtown to this club, which was I'm a small town girl, so traveling to Toronto to do these classes, I was just like, wow, this is so
Well,
cool.
so did you grew up just outside of Peterborough, is that right?
I grew
Or
up in Peterborough, but
in
right now, like most of my family lives in Lakefield. So my mom was born and
okay.
raised in Lakefield, and then her and my
Yeah.
dad. She met my dad when he was a city boy from Toronto, and he traveled to Lakefield camping, and then they moved to
Ah,
Peterborough. So I was, so a small town girl,
yeah.
so going to the city was just like wow. And anyway, I stumbled across this fitness studio that I knew I wanted to work at. So after university, I moved to Toronto. I got a job working at this club, and that's where I met Ann Romer. So you're probably at that age where you would know Ann Romer from Breakfast Television.
Yes. I know
Yeah,
exactly who you're talking about.
yeah.
Yeah.
So the show's since gone through some hosts, Liza Fromer since, and then Dina Pugliese. I think she actually
Yeah.
just step down. So Anne and I became friends because she would also teach aerobics at this club and also hosted her morning show, which is like a big morning show here in Toronto. And she
Mhm.
asked me to come on as a guest once. And she's like, "Oh, we, had this cancellation. Can you come on and do some fitness stuff?" And I was like, "Oh, I guess so." And so I got there and the cameras turned on and I did my thing. And I was like, this is what I want to do. Like, I want to be in front of people. I just thought, this is amazing. This is what I want to do. And so then somehow I got a job volunteering. So she let me know. I let her know I loved it. And she's like, well, we're looking for a volunteer to work on the show. And so I remember my mom picked me up and, we drove down to City TV and I had this interview and it was super hardcore. And then I didn't get the job. And I was like, oh.
Oh,
And then like 2 days later, they're like, hey, the person we originally hired, doesn't want to do it anymore. Do you want it? Man, that job was one of the hardest jobs I ever had. It didn't pay me anything. I worked full time for 1 year, did not get one day off. And my boss, oh my goodness, he was so
oof.
hardcore. I had to be there at 5 o'clock and then I worked till 1 o'clock in the afternoon for free, no days off. I had to show up. It busted my ass. And then I finally got a job on the show, being the coffee girl and then the fill-in live eye host. I don't know if you remember Jennifer Valentine or
Of
Jennifer
course.
Peck at the time. So she's now
Yeah.
she's a friend of mine as well. But so I would fill in for her, and then eventually I got my own show. Doing hosting a radical sports show. Oh my god, I've got stories for days about that.
Oh
But
my God.
and then I got pregnant with my first child. I kind of had to leave that, and then I started my own show. So I produced my own local show called Fit and Fabulous on Rogers for 10 years, and so I just always
Wow.
loved talking in front of people, and then I realized I wanted to talk about what I knew, because
Mhm.
there was a time where I was a sportscaster, like me. I was a sportscaster for the 12 o'clock and 6 o'clock news, if you can imagine. It's just like, anyways.
God.
So TV wasn't really my thing. Talking about what I love in front of people, I realized was my thing. So yeah,
Yeah.
that's my experience.
Perfect. Oh my goodness. You were probably a great newscaster though, but yeah, what what a difference, eh? Like the energy that you put out when it's what you're passionate about. Yeah.
Studying like hockey players. How do you pronounce this hockey player's name? I
Yeah.
don't know who let me. I don't know who let me do that. I don't know who let me do that or who gave me that job. I
Oh
was actually one of the first female sportscasters in Canada at the time. I hated
God.
every minute of it. It reminded me when my dad forced me to play hockey when I was 10. It was not my jam, but thank goodness I don't have to do
Wow. Oh my God. So Gina, when with the whole weight loss and healthy living and everything, like I know your story because I'm in your group and I've heard about it, but I'd love for you to share how this all came to be, what your personal sort of struggles were, and what you were dealing with as a overworked fitness instructor and
Yeah.
visits with your doctor.
So
I love this story.
I never had a weight issue when I was younger, although I did stupid diets with my friend. I remember we did the let's just survive off a hot chocolate for a couple weeks at lunchtime
Oh
diet. Oh,
shit.
so weird. But
Oh,
I
oh,
don't even know why I
do you remember the Scarsdale diet?
no, what was
Oh
that?
my God. You'll have to ask your mom. I'm sure she'll remember it. It was toast and grapefruit, basically. And my mom and I would do it. And I remember begging my mom, can I please put cheese on the toast? I can't. And it was like my stomach was eating itself from the inside. I was so hungry, Just the stupidest shit. I can't even
Mm,
believe what we bought into. But anyways, you had the hot
yeah.
chocolate diet. I wish I'd been on that one instead.
So I had yeah, I was doing better. I didn't really have a weight issue, although I do remember but that's when people talked about dieting and it was kind of a thing and whatever. And
Yeah.
so even throughout high school, like I was personal training, I was teaching these classes, I was quite fit. When I got to university, however, though, that's when I really noticed kind of the weight was coming on. But then I'd also gotten this job where I was teaching these classes, and we're talking like aerobics where it was hardcore. It wasn't like, Pilates and rolling on a mat. No disrespect that Pilates can't be difficult, but this was like if you didn't leave a class almost barfing and crawling out of
Mhm.
there, which obviously is just, that's not really healthy to do.
No.
Did you even teach a class? So I was working at the gym. I got to a point where I was working at the gym 7 in the morning to like 2. And that was my shift. And I would teach maybe like 2, 3 classes in between there. And then, of course, trying to put myself through school. And so I had another job, like I said, working at the futon shop on top of that, and then trying to do schoolwork. And so it led to a lot of like late nights, not a lot of sleep, high stress. And my weight just kept going up and going up and going up and going up. And, I try a variety of different workouts in a variety of different ways, heavy weights, high reps, and I got to the point where I was hardly eating anything. I remember I would go to my 7 a.m. shift. I would stop at the coffee shop because of the gym was in a mall, pick up a coffee, flavored coffee, mind you, now that I think about that. And then a muffin or a scone, and that's all I would have. And I remember thinking that's not a big deal because I'm not going to eat again till I get home, which would be after 2 o'clock, if anything. And so then I would teach these classes, and then, I would get home and maybe have a salad or, something diet-y at the time. I do remember I would go out with pizza with friends, but that'd be like, 1 o'clock in the morning, one slice every now and then, once a week. So I was doing everything that I was taught worked. You eat less, you exercise more. It's how you lose weight. That's it. End of story.
Mm.
And my weight just kept creeping up and creeping up. And I remember going home and seeing my parents and just like feeling, what is going on? Like, this is not how it's supposed to be. And so this led me to being quite concerned and going and book an appointment with my doctor. And I went to them and said, there's something wrong with me. Like, I just keep gaining this weight. And I remember it's like, well, you're probably eating too much. And I'm just like, nah, trust me. Like, I know calories. I know how to count calories. I'm eating like one muffin and maybe a salad a day. That's it. Like the odd one piece of pizza every now and then. But like, I'm definitely in a calorie deficit. And then he was like, well, maybe you need to exercise more. And I'm like, how much more can I exercise? Like, I exercise 3, 4 hours a day. Like, what?
Oh my
And then he's
goodness.
like, well, you must be big boned. And I was like, do your bones just grow? Like, I don't understand. Like, how do is that something that happens? Like, how big do your bones grow? Like, is that it? Are my bones going to be big forever? And now, people look at me and you're like, your legs are so skinny. And then I laugh because I remember being told I was such big boned. And so I remember thinking, okay, like, what? None of this makes any sense. And so then fast forward, I was done university and now living in the city. And then I started dating some guy who ended up being my husband, but whatever. And
Mhm.
he was a chef. And when you start dating, you go out and you eat, and he would cook me meals and whatever. And I remember one time at his house, and he was at my house, and he opened my fridge and he's like, you have no food. And I'm like, I'm on a diet. And he's like, you exercise more than anybody I know. And now this time I was at a club, that club in Toronto I mentioned earlier, and you got
Yeah.
paid by the class. So I'm like starving,
Oh.
just got out of school over here. I think it was like $50 a class or something crazy like that at the time, good money. And so I taught like 18 classes a week. I was like, sign me up, sign me up, sign me up. So I was
Holy
taking a lot of
smokes.
classes, a lot of classes. And he's like, you exercise more than anyone I know. You should be like stick thin. And I'm like, I know, right? Like, I hardly eat anything and I can't lose this weight. And then of course as we dated, the more I ate, the more weight I started to lose. And I remember thinking, what is going on? This doesn't make any sense. I'm now eating more food than I ever have. And I'm all of a sudden starting to lose this weight. And the weight came off pretty quickly. And to the point where people would be like, wow, what diet are you doing? I'm like, I'm not. I'm just eating food. Like, I swear, I'm not doing anything. And so I lost quite a bit of weight pretty fast. Like I think like 80 pounds within like 6 months, or like it was quite a bit. And then like I figure I had about 120, 150 to lose. I didn't get on the scale for a really long time until I knew I had lost a considerable amount. And I remember when I got on the scale, that when I did, it was 220. And I'm guessing I'd already lost
Wow.
probably 20, 30 pounds before then. And so that, for some reason, sent me on this rabbit hole to try to figure out why. Like, why was everything I taught not working for me? And I went down the rabbit hole from like ingredients and additives to, and people weren't talking. So this was like 30 years ago. So people weren't talking about insulin, metabolism, your microbiome, macros,
Yeah.
micros. Like people were not talking about any of that. And also there wasn't the internet, right? So I had to go to like the
Yes.
library and look through the microfiche files, like,
Oh yeah, with the
yes,
that machine.
yes. So there wasn't
Oh,
like, yeah, and I'd find journals, right? And a lot of old journals I would read. And so I kind of got a sense of what worked and what didn't. And then because I had lost weight, people were like, I want you to help me lose weight. And then fast forward 30 years of helping people one on one, first of all, having them pay me money, that's like a lot of pressure because then I have to actually help the person be successful. Really
yeah.
getting, really learning what worked for people, what didn't work for people. I did everything with my clients: eat right for your blood type, Atkins, high carb, low carb, carb cycling, all the crazy wackadoo diets out there. I kind of experimented with them and thought, why would this work? What about this? What if we do that? And kind of taking bits and pieces of what I've learned. This is where I came up with the Livy Method, which is something I've been using for years to help people lose weight, and just kind of teaching people how to tailor it to their own individual needs, and
Mhm.
got really good at it. And so, here I am. If there's one thing I always say, if there's one thing I'm really good at, it's weight loss. Everything else is a crapshoot in my life. Like, weight loss is one thing I'm really good at. It was a lot of trial and
Oh,
error and trying to figure out, and I really look back and I don't know what motivated me to really want to figure this out, but there was something that kept me, and me,
yeah.
I mean, based on our conversation today, I could talk for hours. It never gets old. I never get tired of talking weight loss. For
Yeah.
some reason, I just feel like it's my thing and I just love talking about it. So,
It
yeah.
is your thing, Gina. And one thing that I find really powerful about you is that you talk a lot in our groups and on the morning calls. You talk a lot about the energy around things, right? And a lot of people might say, well, what the hell does that mean, the energy? But as you go through the program, it is like almost it's like a spiritual experience.
Yeah.
You are helping people to really connect with their bodies and to
Yeah.
connect with what is it you want, like, and listening to your body. And I know that might sound cliche to somebody on the outside looking in, but have been a few words that you have said where like I am now at the point where I open up my fridge and I'm like, what do you need? Like,
Yeah.
what does your body need right now? And this whole idea of building this beautiful foundation of nourishment so that your body can say, thank God, thank you for giving me what I need. Now I don't need this fat anymore. I will let it go. And it's such a beautiful thing because you end up like respecting yourself so much, and the body shaming and all these things go away. I wanted to talk to you about something. I don't know if I know you're a Mel Robbins fan. I love her as well. And she had an interview with Jay Shetty, and she was talking about the difference between men and women going through puberty. And I'm not trying to diss men because we all have our different experiences, but one of the things she said was, girls, when we are 13 years old and we're getting into puberty, we torture ourselves. We start seeing our bodies change. We see boobs, we see hips, a bum, thighs, and we're like, oh God, ew. And we cover ourselves up, right? Like some girls have the confidence, they don't cover up, but a lot of us grew up that way, just covering it up because we didn't want to show anybody, and we feel ashamed. And then boys at the same age, when they go through puberty, their voice gets deeper, they get taller, they get facial hair, muscle mass. So they're in this like power position, and
Yeah.
we're in a shame position. And
Yeah.
so from there, all of a sudden, the body's changing. You're gaining a few pounds here and there. And then people are saying to you, you know what, honey, you're a beautiful girl, but you gained a couple of pounds. Let me talk to you about a diet. And
Yeah.
then shit, man, away we go into hell.
Yeah.
Right. and discovering you at the age of, well, I guess I had just turned 50, and similar story, like all of a sudden I'm like exercising lots. I'm not eating so much. I'm packing on weight. I've even cut alcohol out, which I still have, which has made a big difference, but my hormones were so messed up.
Yeah.
And thank God I saw a friend looking at you, and I'm like, okay, whatever, I'll try it. Like, I'm like, this isn't gonna work. Like, if Weight Watchers isn't working for me, there's no way this Gina Livy thing's gonna work for me. And I think it was within 2 weeks, I'm like, holy shit, where have you been my whole life? Like, you know, just
Yeah.
incredible.
Well, I think
Yeah.
people get it goes back just beyond puberty. People get disconnected from themselves from a very young age. Just whether it's food scarcity issues in your family or your parents saying to you, "You're going to sit there until you eat everything on your plate," when maybe you're already full, but your parents are telling you you need to sit there and finish this. So we get used to cleaning our plates, even though our brains and are telling us we're full, we're done. Or you're eating, I always say a lot of times, there's the reason why younger kids don't like their broccoli. It's very hard to digest. I work with adults who have a hard time. They get gassy after broccoli, and they're like, it doesn't work for me. So when you're young and you can't articulate that, my mommy is telling me to eat my broccoli, it's good for me, yet it's giving me a belly ache, you're learning to kind of disconnect from that. The whole, can I have a snack? And your parents saying, no, lunch is in 3 hours, you can wait. So we're learning that when we're hungry, we need to wait until there's food. And then if you combine that with any time at all spent in the diet industry, then it's just a complete and utter disaster. Plus, let's face it, the lack of it, I think we're a lot better at it today, but the lack of communication about what's happening in our bodies, especially, as females, I
Mm.
don't know, you just wake up one day and you have your period, and hope that you didn't miss that 5-second conversation in health class that tells you
Yeah.
what it's about. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
When you were talking about that, I think I really, I got off on that one because I think through exercise, and I wasn't exercising to lose weight. I was exercising because I love the being in class and teaching in front of people. And I think that created a certain level of self-confidence in me with my body. Plus, if I'm thinking about the fashion, when I was in high school, it was like turtlenecks up to here, the long
Yeah.
skirts. And then when I did
Yes.
gain my weight, that's when all those tent style dresses came in style, those, like, they were just kind of like,
Yes. A line, like, yeah.
yeah. So
Yeah.
I think if there was a time to gain my weight, it was a good time in terms of fashion. But one of the things I love doing is working with young women whose their moms would bring them to me. And she wants to eat healthier, and I'm nervous for her about dieting and stuff like that. And then the mom, I'd be like, okay, mom, you need to go. And well, she's like, well, what about this, what about that? And I'm like, so your young daughter doesn't have the issues that you have, having spent
Mm.
20 years dieting. So let's just, like, clean slate for your daughter. And then I would explain, I mean, I've also worked with boys as well, but to explain to them that if you don't give your body what it needs, it'll figure out how to get what it needs. So if you want to avoid gaining weight, make sure you're giving your body what it needs. Make sure you're paying attention. You're eating when you're hungry, sleeping when you're tired, drinking when you're thirsty. Like, and then once you kind of explain that, like, if you just starve yourself and deprive yourself, yes, you'll lose the weight, but you immediately reinforce the fact that you need that fat in the first place, which is why you gain it all back plus more every single time. So to teach that to someone who doesn't have 20 years of dieting, they're like, oh, okay, all right, makes sense. It makes
Right.
sense. And so I find, like, right now our demographic is sort of that 45, 55 range, then 35 to 45, and then upwards 55, 65. Is that, it's everyone. I think in order to do a program like mine, 3 months, it's not a quick fix. It's a permanent fix. It's no joke. It's definitely doing a lot of work. You have to be at a place where you're done with all the other stuff. Like, you've done
Mm.
the Scarsdale, whatever it is, diet. You've done the
Yeah.
great cayenne pepper diet. You've done the
Yeah.
cabbage soup diet. You've done keto. You've done them all at this point, and recognizing you only just keep getting fatter from doing them and gaining the weight back every single time. So I think that's why I got the demographic, or have the demographic that I have right now, is because that is people who've they've dieted and they're just so done with all of it, and now they're ready
Mhm.
to do it a different way. But yeah, the mental part of it is
Yeah.
really cool. So I hooked up with this guy. He was my guru for like 20 years, Marcel Caron. I remember I was working at a gym and I was reading a book on colors and the vibe and energy of colors. Ask me why I had that book. I don't know. And he came in, he started, oh, did you know this color makes you feel this way and this color? And so he was into physics and metaphysics. And I started just kind of like, he was an older guy too, like
Yeah.
an old grandpa guy. And for some reason we connected, and I would meet with him each week and we would talk about, super cool things about your brain and your body and energy. And I would talk to him about, I'm struggling with this, and he would help me kind of realize, put the clues together of what the universe was trying to tell me, or what I was trying to tell myself, or what I was going to learn out of a situation. And so he really helped me with things like grounding myself every day, recognizing when something's bothering me, there's a message in that for me. And through my conversations with him, I got to really realize that I love working through my stuff. Like, a lot of people's physical
Yeah.
ailments are past traumas and memories. I know that sounds a little bit corny for some people, but it is true that, you internalize things, and that can present itself as physical manifestation in some of our chronic illnesses. And, of course, eating better and sleeping better and all those things can help you work through that. But it's a big part of just recognizing and being aware of your own shit, and working
Yeah.
through the stuff that you need to work through. And for some reason, I've just always been really interested in that. And so with weight loss, believe it or not, when I first started these programs, that wasn't a conversation. Working through issues and associations and self-love. I remember, like,
Oh,
4 years ago, I introduced self-love, and people will be like, what? What does that have to do with weight loss? And so the conversation has really evolved over the last, like, the spring summer group coming up will be my 20th group. And so people were not prepared to have that conversation about self-love, and, a few years ago, and as open to working through issues and associations and habits and deep beliefs. And so through the program, we've been able to really help people deal with their past traumas from whether it's life and how they use food to cope, or whether it's, spending years, the diet industry, when they say it's detrimental to people's mental health, it's because it was and is starving yourself,
hmm,
depriving yourself, disconnecting from yourself, the shame, the guilt, all, there's so much. And so, more and more I'm really realizing that that's probably the biggest key to weight loss, is to be able to work through all the mental stuff. Physically, yeah, do this, do this, do this, you're going to lose your
yeah,
weight however long it's going to take you, you're going to get there. But it's like that, it's that big work, that self-realization work. So I am
yeah.
absolutely in love that I get to kind of teach both of those things. I can't with it. I just, it's my favorite things about my job.
It's so great. And like, for anybody who's thinking about joining, like, I will say Gina is like your daily life coach. Like, you support everybody along the way. Gina, I was thinking way back to when I was doing Weight Watchers, and there was a time where they'd have their group meetings and you'd have the person standing and telling you, how did everybody do this week and whatever. And there was a woman there who had lost, I think, over 200 pounds. She was
Wow.
very overweight. And another lady came into the group, and it was around Halloween. And she said, this lady puts her hand up and she says, I can't stop eating Halloween candies. I ate like a half a bag on the way here, and the other half's in my car, and I fully intend on eating the other half on the way home. And, does anybody have any advice? How can I stop doing this, sabotaging myself? And this other woman who had lost like over 200 pounds says to her, her advice was, sit in front of the mirror naked and watch yourself eat that chocolate and see if you ever do it again. And it was
Ooh,
so severe and so shameful and so drastic.
yeah,
And then,
shameful.
from there, like, and I'm thinking back to my mindset back at that time. I was like, yeah, you sing it, sister. Like, I bought into this crap. And then we'd all line up for the weigh-in. And by that time I was a lifetime member. And as you've spoken, I was like shaking in my booties. Am I going to get to keep the lifetime membership, or did I gain 2 pounds? Right. And
Insane.
so that's another thing, like, with your program, I love is that, yeah, you went on holidays and you gained 5 pounds. Of course you did, but that's not real weight gain. Like, let's just get back to the set point.
Yeah.
And, and and I've become so forgiving of myself and understanding and not putting all this like the other thing I love that you say is we need to calm down about food.
Yeah.
I'm like, calm down about it. Yeah, that sounds pretty cool.
We use
Yeah.
food for so many things. We use food to show
Yeah.
love, to celebrate, to commiserate. We use food for so many things. So it's you can't just cut that out of your life. You need to get to a really calm place about it where you can be around food. I'm not a fan of the out of sight, out of mind type of thing. I do believe that you should recognize triggers. So if your trigger is like, I don't know, chocolate, maybe don't have it sitting on your counter. But
Hmm.
yeah, I think that we have to kind of reset our relationship with food and get to a place where we love food again. And we're making a conscious choice to indulge in food. And then if we do have something, not berate ourselves afterwards.
Hmm.
Like sitting in front of the mirror and watch your naked self eat, candy, I'd be like, unless you're like, you are like if you're looking to shame yourself, I don't understand how that would
Hmm.
be helpful. Do you know, like you should
No.
love yourself at any size, first off. And if you're eating the candy, then make a conscious choice and enjoy it. Do you know what I mean? And then move it along. Bigger than these feels when you're losing weight is when you're maintaining. And so I recently started a maintenance group, which is such a uh, uh, eye opener for me. I was really resistant to having a maintenance group because I thought just the way you were losing the weight is you're going to maintain it. It's not that difficult. It's
Mhm.
not hard. I've been maintaining my weight over here for 30 years. But whoa, once I actually started this group, the conversations that started happening were primarily around trust. Even though people had lost their weight in a healthy way and really got more connected with themselves and are in tune with their body's needs after, losing and gaining so many times and feeling that their body hates them, is trying to screw them over, make them fat. They really are in a place where they're not trusting that they're able to maintain their weight. So that's a big conversation.
Mm.
The other one is recognizing that you're going to have different seasons in your life. You're going to have times where you are really stressed out, and you're going to have times where you're really happy. And this, and you're going to have times in your life where the choices that you make or choices you're unable to make are going to affect your weight. And so it's normal for your weight to fluctuate. Like I own jeans in two different
Mhm.
sizes. I have them in a small size, and that's why I love the new American jean. Is it good American jeans? So you can get a 0
Uh-huh.
to 6 and a 6 to 12, and they literally cover me from size 0 to 12. Two pairs of jeans, two different sizes. During one time of the month, I'm in the skinny, like the small size, and then by the end of the
Yeah.
month, I'm in the big size. And so that's the thing, is that your weight is going to continue to fluctuate. And there's two words that I can't stand. It's moderation and control.
Mhm.
When it comes to your weight, you shouldn't, or the things that you're doing and not doing, you shouldn't have to moderate anything and not moderate yourself. You're making a choice. You're aware of the choice. If you keep making choices that make your weight go up and you feel uncomfortable, then switch them and do what you need to do in order to feel good again. Do you know what I mean? And the other
Yeah.
is control. We aren't trying to control ourselves. You shouldn't have to control yourself around food. If you have to control yourself around food or moderate yourself around food, you don't have a great relationship with yourself or with food. We have a great stat. I can't remember what it is, but
Mhm.
some high percentage of people walk away from the program with, that improved mind body relationship and with food, which is kind of two of my favorite stats, because that's what's
Yeah.
going to lead to being able to maintain your weight is being in tune with your body's needs over your wants.
Mhm.
And having a great relationship with food and be able to enjoy it when you want to enjoy it, and be in tune to how much you need to feel satisfied, and to be able to recognize that when you are kind of eating all the things and going off the rails and drinking the wine, eating the stuff and whatever, and you start to feel
Mhm.
off, that we give people a technique in order to help manage that. If anything, manage it. You know what I mean? Your weight goes up, you indulge, you go away on holidays, come back. Do you know what I mean? Help yourself get back on
Yeah.
track, back to feeling good. So you shouldn't have to do weird shit for the rest of your life in order to maintain your weight once you've lost it. That's really
Yeah.
important. And that's where all the work that you do mentally comes in.
Yes, exactly. So I wanted to talk to you about your partnership with your soon-to-be husband.
Ah,
This
yes.
is really cool. So what take us back to like I don't know, October, November of 2020 when you guys decided like we're going to do this together and let's blow it up.
So
I would
I
love to know
loved
what was
it.
going on. What was
I
the
did not
conversation?
I did not have Tony and I working together on my radar at all. It was not on my bingo card for any year. So when Tony and I got together, he sort of had seen the evolution of what I was doing, and I was doing a lot of private clients when I was with him. And when I started the Facebook support group, I was with him, and so he'd see me work. Like we'd go on vacations, I'd be checking in, I'd be going live, I'd be doing all of this stuff, and he was also someone who worked a lot. He worked at Amazon. He's in a management position in Amazon, so he worked a lot himself. So it really worked, you know. And after I was in a 20-year relationship where I just found like we were so, I was never happy because I was always making compromises. Do you know what I mean? Like you're
Hmm.
constantly compromising. So you're never really happy at anything you're doing. And when I got into my new relationship with him, I thought, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to tell him what to do, how to do it. I'm just going to accept him for him. And then I'm not going to let him tell me what to do either. So that's not happening.
Yeah.
And so he started asking me about losing weight, and I was like, "No, I'm not. I'm not helping you. I don't want to be concerned about what you're eating. I don't want you to be trying to lose weight, and I'm seeing what you're eating. Say something, not say something. Like if you want to lose weight, figure it out on your own. And you don't want to lose weight. I don't care. Like just I don't care. I love you. I don't need you to lose weight. So, and I'm not helping you lose weight. I was pretty hardcore about that. So he signed up for the program on his own, and he was like right in there. He was like commenting on stuff, and like he knew like all the members by name. And I don't know, and he'd be like, wow, this works. And because guys think that you got a diet, so you're going to starve and deprive and eat carrot sticks all day. And he was like, his problem was very typical of men. Go long period that starting to get that belly. I call it the businessman
Yeah.
belly. So long periods of time without eating, high stress, lack of sleep. When they did eat, they'd overeat type of thing. And so, he was realizing like he'd be eating and losing this weight. Well, he had done the program and lost weight. So he was a huge believer in the program. And then the pandemic happened. And of course, it coincided, I think, maybe with the pandemic. And in working with Amazon, he started working from home. He was traveling a lot. And then he got a job as like a regional manager where he was like having to drive here and drive there. And he's spending all this time in his car. And at the same time, the business for me was growing. I had started the business, and I was the only person posting and answering questions myself. And
Oh
then I
God.
brought on Andrea. You might remember Andrea from back in the day. And I met with
Yeah.
her, and she started doing some fun recipes for me and helping to answer questions. And then her best friend, Terry Ann, Andrea has since moved on and retired, but Terry Ann is still with us. And Terry Ann started answering questions. So I couldn't stop people from buying the program, and I had to limit it and cap it because I didn't have the capacity to help all the people. And I'd be afraid to Instagram about it. I'd be afraid to advertise about it because I'm like, holy shit, I can't keep up. And so Tony saw this, and he's just like, you're going to get in trouble unless you start running your business like a real business. And I always, what I love about this story is that, when I
Mm.
say that people are always like, well, how are you going to do it? Like, what's your middle? Yeah, you want to
Yeah.
change the world, you want to do big things, but how? And so I had a friend say to me a while ago, well, what's the middle? Like, where you're at, you want to go, but there's got to be a middle part. And it turns out Tony was my middle. So he quit his job and he runs all of the business. He's the business behind the business, because before him, there was no business behind. I probably would have went to jail for tax evasion. I'm pretty sure, because I didn't have a clue what I was doing. I didn't have a clue. I didn't have a clue.
Oh,
And running a big business is like, because we're up to 50 employees now, there's policies and procedures. And oh my God, there's
yeah.
so much to it. I had no idea, and also no interest in. And so Tony gets to run
Mm.
the business behind the business, and I get to really do what I love, which is inspire people to lose weight. And so that's how he came on board. To this day, I still can't believe. So this day, I still can't believe he's still with me. I don't know how he puts up with me. I'm so whiny and cranky some days, and I'm a Taurus, so I'm pretty stubborn.
Yeah.
I like
Yeah.
things the way I like things, and I don't like anyone telling me how to do things. But Tony
Yeah.
puts up with me, and so yeah, that's how it came about. But it was
God.
really from him doing the program and realizing it worked. He would never have quit his job because it was a really good paying job. He would never have quit his job if he didn't believe in the product itself, which is the program. And so
Amazing.
through Tony, they've done all the hiring, over 50 people at our team now, and I
Wow.
just can't even. Yeah.
Oh, it's incredible. And I love it that Tony did the program and then became part of the company just like other people are doing now, you
Yeah.
know? they're in
Yeah,
the program and they're becoming a part. He was the first one.
yeah,
That's so great.
yep.
Yeah, I
It's one of my
love that.
favorite
And
stories.
yeah, so speaking of feeling whiny and cranky and all that, because we all go there. Um,
Yeah.
like sometimes I go onto your lives in the morning and I'm like, girl, I don't know how you are pulling that together day after day. Like, is there not one day where you just put the blanket over your head? Like, how do you
Oh,
get going? Are you an early riser? Do you have a,
so
do you do
no,
other things before?
I used to pride
Yeah.
myself on being an early riser. I still think I'm that person, but sometimes I'm right in bed. I'm in bed 5 minutes before I roll on sometimes. I So I've learned that, so my motto really is I'm asking people to show up every day, good days, bad days, and just show up and do the best that you can. And I try to lead by example with that. So I
Mhm.
show up, and some days I'm like on, and other days I don't even know what I'm saying. But I can tell you there have been many times, because I'm dealing with a lot of stuff in my life. I've got some teenagers, and they have some mental health issues, and there's been some heavy times in my life as of late. And so there's like days I get up and I'm like, how am I going to do this? And it's not that I don't want to, I'm just like,
Mhm.
how am I going to do it? There's been times where I sat in front of my microphone and I'm in tears. Like I'm just I don't know how I'm going to do this. And then it turns on and I make it about helping other people. And for some reason that just like fills my soul. And then that's why I always set my intention before I sit down. What am I doing today? Am I going to inspire people? Am I going to am I going to kind of rein people in? Am I going to put people's mind at ease? Like, where are people at? How are they feeling? Like, what do they need from me today? And I actually sit here before I go on, and the mic and the camera turns on. I'm like, okay, I'm here to help people. So however I do that is perfect, because sometimes I say things to people and I'm like, whoa, but then they'll reach out to me and
Yeah.
say, thank you for saying that to me, because my intention is just to help. And so I
Mhm.
figure if I just show up and my intention is to help, I can't mess it up. Just like every day, if you show up, you can't mess it up. That's my motto. So it's exhausting. I used to do the 9 a.m.s and the 7 p.m. lives. And then I got really sick in the spring and had to stop doing the 7 p.m. lives. And what I realized is that I was not leading by example. I was really overextending myself. I was trying to do it
Mhm.
all. I was doing too much. And my community was like, you don't need to do a 7 p.m. live. Like, what are you doing? And a lot of people felt like, you know what? I'm so happy that you're not doing these 7 p.m. lives, because I felt I needed to keep up. I felt like I had to do it
Ah,
all. And so I've really learned, I make no mistake. Like, I know you think that I'm kind of sharing and teaching the community, but I learned so much from our members, like, because I'm far from
right.
perfect and I've got a lot to learn. I am a real hot mess. And so I just,
Oh,
sometimes I get off, I'm like, wow, that was an amazing conversation. And then I realize I've had this conversation with myself, like no one else is
yeah.
talking, but it's the vibe. I know it sounds corny, but it's the vibe and the energy that I get from our community. And I believe that your vibe attracts your tribe. And I just
Mhm.
think it's kind of one of those things that when I have felt so sick. I mean, I went live from when my son was like in the hospital, like for a month. Like I just walk away feeling so much better. And so no matter how crappy
Yeah.
I feel, when I get on and I talk about what I know, I walk away thinking, oh my God, I can't believe I almost
Yeah.
didn't go on. But yeah, I don't know what it is. I just
Wow.
keep going. I just keep showing up. I don't put pressure on myself to be perfect. If I don't say things
Yeah.
perfectly, or I'm not sunshine and rainbows one day, my heart is in the right place, and my goal is to have everyone be successful. So I get by on that a lot. Like I'm a big believer of intention. So yeah, so that's how I show up.
Yes.
It's not pretty sometimes. I'm not gonna lie.
No, I think it's great. And, having done your program for a year, I was in the program when you were going through your own health issues.
Yeah,
And, that must have been such a tough time for you, Gina, because it's like the world stops and, there's all that self-reflection and you're thinking about what I'm teaching. And now I've landed up in this situation and it's because I'm doing, you were pushing yourself so
yeah.
hard doing what you love.
Yeah, I was
So
in the
that
hospital for
what
like
was that like?
I was in the hospital probably for over a week or so. I took 3 weeks off of work, which is not like me. Like I go live from wherever I
Yeah.
am traveling. I don't, I'm always showing up, and I felt so guilty. Like I literally wasn't sure I was going to make it. Like I'm not to be extreme, but I was in rough shape
Yeah.
and guilty that I like that. I don't know if you hear that. It was Tony listening to me. I don't know.
Oh, that's funny.
But it was very difficult for me. But again, and that's where I couldn't show up. And I felt really
Mm.
I feel responsible for 28,000 people being successful at losing weight. It's a lot of pressure. I know it's not
Yes.
principle, and but I do. And it was really again through the members who said, like, what are you doing? Like, take the time that you need. Like, I think what's really great
Mhm.
too with the program is that for the price that people pay, the value is just insane. And so even if I didn't show up every day and go live every day and check in every day, I still had all this amazing information that works, this program that works,
Right.
all of this
Yeah. Can I
information
just like the Bible here?
yeah.
Great job, by the way, on the
Well, you know
revamp.
what's so, you know what's so funny about that
So,
book is I joke with my team because that book was originally, so I have 5 number 1 bestsellers at this point, and that book was
yeah.
originally just designed to help people. I was like, there's got to be a better way because people were printing off the information at home. It was costing them a fortune in printer fees,
Oh
and I
God.
always joke with my team that I bet you I hold the record for the most number 1 best-selling books with the most spelling mistakes and grammatical errors on the planet, hands down. If you were
Yeah.
to read my first edition, man, I there were so many spelling mistakes and grammatical it was a hot mess. I'm glad that you have
That's
the winter version because that recently we went through the winter version and we revamped it. That is a
yeah.
perfect example of progress over perfection.
Well, you know what? I have to say, like, you guys, yeah, it's amazing. I mean, the book before was awesome too, but this one is really like, whoa. But
Yeah,
what I was saying to you before, Gina, about how you inspire me as an entrepreneur, this whole progress over perfection, everybody talks about that, but
yeah,
a lot of times we don't get to see it. So when you say out loud, like, oh shit, my first book had all these spelling errors and all the, I'm like,
yeah,
okay, okay, that's okay. That's okay. It's just like such a nice, reassuring thing because just like with food and everything else, we're so hard on ourselves. Like I'll do a post and then 2 weeks later I see a spelling mistake and
yeah,
it used to be the end of the world. And now I'm like, whatever, I'm a human, moving on. And you've really helped with that. So thank you.
yeah.
I think it's a great lesson.
I just was revisiting some of my old groups because they're still out there. And I was just thinking, oh man, like what? I remember I used to go live. My hair would be wet, towel on my head, like barely just getting out of the shower, running late. Yeah, I think progress over perfection is so huge because people get paralyzed and then don't do anything about anything because they're waiting for everything to be perfect. And when in reality, it is perfect because you are where you are, you're doing what you can do. And I think
Mhm.
so many people have gifts to share that they don't share out of fear that they're not in a perfect place to share them, or they have a perfect product, or you know what I mean. Like you can do a podcast on your iPhone, on your phone. You don't
Yeah.
need fancy mics and fancy, I just put it out there and do it. And this is the same that holds true with weight loss. People are getting this vicious cycle of being perfect. Well, because I wasn't perfect, oh man, nothing hurts my soul more than people doing a program for a week and they're like, well, I haven't been perfect, so should I just start again or just give up? I'm like,
Oh,
what? No, like
no.
it's how often and how consistent you are, not about how perfectly you do things in life. So
That's right.
that
And
that's the,
that's
the
actually that's one of the areas where you talk about feel the energy of that I love. You say feel the energy of going back and starting again versus let's just pick it up and keep on going. And
yeah,
and that's a huge deal because
yeah,
that's what everybody does with a diet. They go back, I suck, got to go back to square one, got to go back. And you're right, it's like a weight. Like talk about gaining more weight. It's like an
yeah,
anchor just taking you down.
yeah.
So, yeah, it's so uplifting and bright, like everything you're teaching.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's
and
amazing.
everything in weight loss on this journey can be attributed to life. That's what I love about it because I think you're getting giving people, not only strengthening their mind body connection, which helps them with what to eat, when to eat, and how much to eat, but what works for their life and what doesn't work for their life. It's getting to know
Mhm.
themselves and what makes them happy, and you know what I mean. Like that's what
Yeah.
you do in the program is just constantly focus on yourself and prioritize yourself, and and make time for yourself, which we're taught is a really selfish thing. And that's a big thing for a lot of people to get over, is taking the time to focus on what they want and what works for
Mhm.
them. And through weight loss, because the end result is pretty cool, you get to lose your weight in a healthy way. People are gaining a lot more confidence and, strengthening that mind body connection and realizing that if they can do this, they can do anything in life. So yeah, I'm on the
Yeah.
slide teaching people how to like live the life, achieve the things that they want
Yes.
to achieve in life, and doing it through
Mhm.
weight loss. So they don't that's one of my secrets. Don't tell anybody that.
I love it. Well, I'm learning. I'm learning. And I don't want to keep you, Gina. We've already been talking for an hour. I could talk to you like into the night. But I I did want to ask you, not to put you on the spot, but I would love to know if there are three wishes that you had right now. Can be about anything. What would your three wishes be?
Three wishes. Oh my goodness.
Mhm.
Three wishes, three wishes, three wishes, three wishes. Well, one, I wish everyone could get to a place where they feel confident and comfortable in their own skin. I mean, that for whatever reason, that's driving me. I know that feeling. Just thinking about it almost truly will bring me to tears. So I'll go into an ugly cry. So I'm going to try not to do that.
Yeah.
Really, that's what motivates me every day. I'm lucky to have a very successful company, but I'm not motivated by that. It truly is helping people live and look their best, feel the best, because I believe that like we're here. I have a hard time like with people not grasping that this is your time on the planet. You know what I mean? Why
Mhm.
not do it? Why not now? Why not go for it? So for people to really just be done with their weight loss journey and just get to a place where they feel comfortable and happy so they can really spend all of their time, the rest of the time in their lives, doing other things. My other
Yeah.
wish would be that my kids turn out, that I don't fuck up my kids, man. I just want them to be happy, but also really independent, self-sufficient adults that have the tools and the skills to create the life of their dreams. The other would also be, just to be able to, right now have everyone in my life who's important stay healthy and happy, because
Mhm.
that, right now is the best time of your life because everyone you know and love is alive and hopefully healthy, and that doesn't last. And as I get older and I'm
Mhm.
turning 50, I'm thinking a lot about that. Like for our
Yeah.
upcoming wedding, we've invited all of our friends and family, everyone on Tony's side, everyone on my side. We have 86 people coming to Mexico, and beyond it being our wedding, it's an opportunity after the pandemic to bring our families together. And it's again, we're getting married, but we were like, man, we're really successful, we're really grateful, and we just want to bring our families and provide this amazing opportunity to that, is going to make memories and spend time together. So it's not lost on me that, we're not here forever and that our loved ones aren't going to be around forever. So that's my wish, is that everyone stays healthy and happy. I want to live
Oh.
forever. That's what I want to do.
I
And
know. Well, you're helping, girl. I mean, yeah, I feel like I'm roller skating again. I'm back to my 14-year-old self,
yes,
you know?
I love roller skating. I used to go every
See?
Tuesday to the roller rink, man. I wanted to be a roller skating
Oh my.
queen.
Well,
We
listen,
should
I
go
have to tell
sometime.
you. Yes, so there's a place here, you won't even believe it, Gina. It's called Scooters. It's in Mississauga and it's one of the originals. And of course, there's threats that it's going to be torn down soon, but I've been going since November, Thursday nights, that you can take a lesson and then it's like old school skate from 8 till 11.
Oh, I
And
love it.
they're doing an event next Wednesday. It's a disco night and it's to raise money for Sunnybrook for brain cancer. It's for a foundation. And anyway, they asked me to MC the event. So I'm so excited. I got like this whole disco outfit. But again, I thank you because I cannot believe my energy. Like I honestly felt like I'm just going to end up, this is it now. I'm over 50. I got to
Yeah.
accept this, but you don't like, that's the whole thing I tell all my friends. Like Gina will get you back to where It's not over, man.
I'm going out with a fight. I'm gonna
Yes.
live my longest, best life and do everything I can to be healthy, happy, and do all the things. I want to wear disco outfits when I'm like 95. And
Good.
I'm gonna be roller skating. I'm doing all the things.
Okay.
Doing all the
It's a
things.
date. We have to go roller skating together.
All right.
That's so awesome. Thank you so much, Gina, for your time today and for telling us more about you. And you're just amazing. Everybody watching right now is so grateful.
For being like my first kind of interview. I'm sure I talked a lot. You're gonna be like, that girl didn't shut up. My goodness.
No,
Thanks. This has been so
you-
fun.
good. I'm glad you enjoyed it. I'm going to put you in our fancy virtual green room and I'll be right back to you in just a second.
Bye. Thanks.
Bye. Thank you, everybody, so much for tuning in. Gina Livy, wow, she is amazing. And all of her energy, when people say they spread their energy, well, she does. I have way more energy since I've got to know Gina, and I just love her so much. So make sure you check her out. Go to her website, ginalivy.com. Join me in April. It's going to be amazing. And while you're online, make sure to check out our show sponsor, brendabadome.com. Use the coupon code Get to Know Them for 22% off of your order. And please go to my site, GlamJulz, GLAMJULZ.com, and check out my jewelry. Also, if you want to catch this interview on YouTube or on our ACAST podcast, go to gettoknowthem.ca and all the information is there for you. Thank you so much. Love you all. Keep on showing the world your sparkle. We'll see you next week.